guys, welcome back to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to go over my top like 3 or 4 carried knives of the month. I'm going to show you an unboxing that I did last night. I didn't really unbox it. Obviously I unboxed it, that's how I got it out. But I didn't really do like an unboxing video of it. But I'm going to start doing these once I get better at what I'm doing. So first, for the show and tell, really, this is a pouch that didn't come in. These are my DMT double-sided stones. So this is the fine side, this is the extra fine. I don't really have anywhere to hold these either, so haven't used these yet, but I'm probably going to find something to use them on today. This is the DMT. This is the extra coarse and coarse. So already, just getting these in, this is like my first, I guess you could say, a little bit higher quality stones that I've had in. I got some Preha, what are they called? They're the oil stones. It's an oil stone set that I really, really like. And then, I got on this kick where I wanted to start getting into some of these sharpening stones. So to put that into perspective, let's see here. I'll grab my PM2. Just so you know how large these stones actually are. These are the 2" by 6", and here it is kind of compared to a PM2. So they're not super large, but I can tell you guys these things are heavy. Like, it just makes you feel, I always talk about solidity in hand with knives and how they make you feel like it's a high quality. That's what these feel like to me. These things feel heavy, like they were made well. They're the mono, whatever, formed stones, so that, they're not going to break as much, and they're going to last a little bit longer and wear evenly. So that's pretty cool. I'll give you guys reviews on these stones when I get to be better sharpening. When I get to be a better sharpener. Right now, my sharpening is relatively inconsistent, which brings me to my next point. I say it's inconsistent. I can get something sharp, but I kind of fell back to where I lost what I was doing halfway along the way, and I could not figure it out. I'm like, I can't get something hair-popping sharp anymore. And I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if I got too confident in my sharpening ability or anything like that. I'm not really sure how it happened. So I went back to sharpening videos, and I was trying to go back to the basics and like figure out like what I was started doing wrong. And it's not that you can't figure it out. It's that I guess I couldn't figure it out because I could sharpen something. And 2 months ago, I was able to sharpen this really shitty steel like up to a point where the edge was literally falling off. Like, it would pop a hair and then it was gone. And then talking to some guys in the community, that's like that really shitty pot steel, that's what happens. The edge just breaks apart. So I was getting to that point, and I even sharpened that to where it was polished. It was crazy. It was like almost a mirrored edge from there. So I think after that point, I probably got a little arrogant, and it got to the point where I was like, well, I need to go back to basics because I can't get anything freaking sharp anymore. So I went back to the basics, and where I'm getting at with this is I want to throw out somebody that you guys need to go watch and like immediately fixed my problem. Go look at Neve's Knives. He has a sharpening video back in the day. I think it was like 6 months ago to a year ago. Oh my gosh, guys. I watched it and I kind of tried a little different method that he's using. Within 10 minutes of watching that video, I was tree-topping hairs again, and it felt so good. So I got to give him some credit. He's a really good sharpener, and I knew that already, and that's why I was watching his videos. And yeah, so go check out Neve's Knives, his sharpening video, because it'll help you if you're struggling. I'll tell you that much. And I wasn't like a newbie guy. I was somebody that had experience and somehow just lost it. It was weird. Like I said, I think it was the overconfidence. Alright, so for my top, I'm going to give you guys right now my top 3 most carried knives for the month of April. But I'm going to give you 3 honorable mentions that I'm kind of on the fence with, too. So, first honorable mention is going to be my wee Saga. So the Wii Saga, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the knives on why I like them, why whatever. So I was super excited about this. This design spoke to me, and you get it in hand, and it feels really good. I love Mikkel Williamson's designs. The frame is a little tight, and the blade is really fat. It's huge. Sorry, they're dirty. The blade is really fat. It's freaking huge, right? So it's like that's kind of the designs that I like. And so I've been carrying this, and it's fidgety. I don't like flipper tabs that often, but the way this flipper tab is done, I love it. I love that about it. So I'm kind of torn for two reasons. This is why it didn't make the actual list. First reason being this is a limited edition, and something about limited editions kind of freaked me out. It was like that with the kite fin too. I really liked the kite fin, but it was a limited edition. You just slap limited edition on there, and I kind of don't want to use it as hard as other knives. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get over that or not. If I don't get over that, I'm going to be trading this. I have to get over the hump of not wanting to use it in order to keep it. That's kind of my internal regulations on how I choose whether or not I keep a knife. But everything else about this knife is very, very cool. Ergonomically, it's very sound, and it's just a very, very cool knife. I'm glad that I got it. I'm glad that I'm getting an experience to check it out. And it's on the cusp of being a forever knife. Let's just put it that way. I don't know yet. I just got to get past that hump. So the next knife on the list, and all these knives that I'm showing you, the reason the top three made the top three is they are forever knives. They are knives that I use and I beat the shit out of. So the next knife on the list is the Civivi Elementum button lock. So I don't really care. I know there's plenty of people out there that are like, that's so gay. Or there's people out there that are like, you have to use the button. Well, yeah, it's the way they design the mechanism. The mechanism sits underneath a rail in here, but it locks this blade into place. You can't open it up. So yeah, you have to press the button to get it open because it breaks the mechanism. There's no detent, right? And I think this is just a cool thing. I love the way this guy looks. I got this as a channel review knife. Like it was gonna make it into my lineup to compare knives to. I was gonna use the small and large Elementum though. But once I got this in hand, this Elementum broke the mold of Elementums. It feels it's less about the button lock, although that's fun, right? That's fun to do. But it's more about the size. This is the size of knife that I'd like to carry. Let me get this nasty band-aid that keeps falling off my finger off. I stabbed it with the next knife that I'll show you guys. The size of this knife is just so good. It's light. It's very, very carry profile friendly. Like this thing goes in your pocket and you kind of don't realize it's there. And if you guys hear me talking with a little less enthusiasm, it's because my son is sleeping. So I'm just trying not to wake him up, but I'm also trying not to be boring. So yeah, this thing is very cool. It's pretty, but because it's only $100, I'm not scared to use it. Like the prettier knives that are like $500, I'm scared to use them. It's not the it's a combination of the price and the look. Something like this, I mean, I love it, but I'm not scared to use it. And I think in my mind when I got it, I knew that it was going to be a forever knife. Mainly for the channel, but now that I have it, it's like, all right, this is cool. So this is a Civivi Elementum button lock. This is an honorable mention. It may make the list down the road a little bit higher, but right now this is where it's at. Not to mention I got this about halfway through April. Last honorable mention, this thing just came in. This is the Riot Knives Epoch. The reason this is an honorable mention, literally, just because it just came in. And Ryan's Ryan's like, I didn't want to trade you that, but I really wanted the trade. And he's like, I'll get that knife back. And I'm like, you won't. This I freaking love this knife. Yeah, it's damn near perfectly centered. I have it centered to where it's almost perfectly centered and there's no blade play back and forth. In hand, guys, this thing. So I don't have Civivi Backlash, and it's a weird comparison, right? Maybe I'll try to transpose a Civivi Backlash right here, because I told him, this reminds me a lot of the Civivi Backlash, and he's like, what? Like, what the hell? Well, you gotta remember, the Civivi Backlash was like my first Civivi love in hand. I bought the Backlash, and I bought something else with the Backlash, and like the Backlash was one of those that you pull out of the box and you're like, oh yeah, right? So that's why I compare it, because it gives me that same feeling, only on a much higher level, right? The differences here is this thing is so solid. The tolerances on this, everything is just tight. The tolerances on this are so solid. The action is so good. And my action's not as good as some of the other epochs that I've seen. Part of the reason being is it is slightly off-centered, so to adjust it, I had to make a couple adjustments and try to use metal complexes like centering thing. And it didn't work out as well as planned, but it got it a little bit better. I'm sure I could tweak with it some more, but I think I'm gonna try to see if I can find some skiff bearings or something, right, and use it for that. But or see if that'll help me. And if that doesn't help me, I'll take some of the washers and I'll try to polish the washers or something like that. But this thing is so solid, and these scales aren't contoured necessarily, but the chamfering is more like the scalloping style chamfering where it goes real deep, or I should say real shallow and long. On both sides, so it gives this pseudo contour feel. Now this titanium, or Timascus rather, insert into here, what this does is it gives you somewhere for your fingers to touch on, right? And I don't know if that was intentional, but it feels awesome. This thing is heavy, in a sense. It's relatively heavy. It's my perfect size, and it's very quickly growing to be in my top list of knives. So this is definitely a forever knife. This is one of those that I could feel out of the box just carrying around. My only complaint on it, which I'll get to in a review, is the way this pocket clip is done. It's raised, so it's not like that, like kind of come out to where it gets tighter. And then this ball down here, it's not that it has a bad tension. Well, actually the tension is kind of weak. The tension is a little weak, but what that creates is this is a little loose in my pocket. I was wearing basketball shorts with this one day, and I went to go pull it out, and I didn't feel any resistance pulling it out. It felt like I pulled it out from inside my pocket. So that's a little bit scary for me, because I want it to actually be in your pocket and be fine. So I may try to find a replacement pocket clip to see if that's the case, or see if anybody else has had that issue, because the way this is milled out, it does take a lot of strength from this piece right here. Other than that, this would have made the list. It's just that I got this like 3 days ago. Next on the list is my PM2 Ultra. So my PM2 Ultra, what makes it an Ultra is the titanium. They changed out the scales, but they changed it to a button lock. Right here you can see that they modified it all through here, so the button hits the compression lock right there, and it's super fidgety. I mean, this thing's super fidgety, which makes it even more fun to carry. The compression lock's fidgety, but there's something about having the PM2. I missed my PM2, the original OG PM2. I missed that, and this is just an S30V blade, and I really enjoy carrying this guy. This guy's one of those that I never see myself getting rid of. I kind of feel bad. I told a guy on Reddit, I purchased it like 5 minutes before he could. And I was like, you know what? Let me look at it. I have a channel. I don't need this many knives. You know, I'll talk with you after I look at it. I am not trading this one. So this is one of those that it spoke to me enough that I was like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't trade it. Part of that being, when I got it, the centering sucked. It was loose. And then I'm like, what the hell? And I never really fault the people sending it to me. I'm like, on the secondary market, it's kind of like, you're going to get what you're going to get. It's all subjective views when they list their descriptions, plus they're trying to sell it. But what I ended up doing is I have this James Brand Folsom, like, pig knife that's sitting in my drawer. I hated that knife. I loved it when I first got it. And then, like, once I felt the real knife, I'm like, this is crap. I had the James Brand Carter, and it was okay. I mean, it wasn't bad. But it was just like, the gentleman's carry hype just overtook what it was supposed to be. I don't know. I want to feel the chapter, but I don't. It's a really expensive knife to try and get your hands on, and I just don't know that I like James Brand enough. The reason I want to feel the chapter from James Brand, and totally off topic, is that, I don't like James Brand. I thought I did, but I don't. and I feel like I need to hold one more to solidify or change my mind. That's kind of where that sits, right? Hold on, my setup's goofy. So, anyways, I changed out the washer from that James Brand Folsom into here, and now there is 0 blade play, and perfect centering, maybe slightly skewed to the left, but enough to where I don't really care. And then the action is just perfect. So this is the PM2 Ultra. This is my number 3 on my most carried knives list. And let me do a breakthrough knife real quick. Breakthrough meaning I forgot to add this to the list. This is the Spyderco Sage 5. I got this because everybody's saying this is the, Metal Complex, Slicey, they're all saying, like, this is the knife that's, like, the best for its size, the best bang for its buck, beats the PM3. So I'm kind of doing this mini series where I'm carrying this much more frequently than I normally would to see what the hype is. Now, I'm not going to go into too much about it. I do really like this knife. It's just kind of small and narrow where the pinch point is. And yeah, that's comfortable. It's really comfortable. I just wish it had a little bit more to it because it just feels kind of like a little bit small in the neck portion. But I'm not knocking it. I'm not done with it. And anyways, that was kind of like the breakthrough. I did carry that a lot this month. Next, on to the 2 beasts. I don't really know which one I carried more, so I'm gonna lay them both out here. This is my Wee Malice and my Hinderer XM18 Skinny Sheep's Foot. The Skinny Sheep's Foot, I've already changed some of the hardware. The reason the so exciting part about the Hinderer is that you can make everything your own. And I'm noticing that I need to tighten up a screw. The screw's sitting proud, it's like coming out. So while we're talking, I'll see if I got what I need. But, so, the Hinderer, I'm not scared of either one of these knives, by the way. Like, when I talk about knives that I won't use or use, these knives, especially the Malice, holy crap, that poor freaking guy. I run that little guy through the freaking ringer, man. Talk about that in a second. Let's tighten these up real quick, just to kind of... I can't lose that hardware. It's crazy how expensive freaking titanium hardware is. And we do it because we want it to be ours. We want the prestige of feeling it. We want everything that comes along with it. But yeah, it's expensive as shit. Alright, so the Hinderer, I think, is coming in at number 2 of the Malice. But it's kind of like, there's not really a reason why. I carry the Hinderer frequently, and actually, I think I reach for my Hinderer more than I reach for the Malice, but I use my Malice so much more. I carry my Hinderer, and I carry like a review knife, right? And I always just use the review knife, just because, why not? Like, if it's like a Civi V or something like that, I'm gonna use that over this most of the time for like dirty stuff. But I'm constantly carrying this. I probably carry this for 15 or 16 days to work, and this thing is awesome. And by the way, I've been contemplating doing a flipper delete on this, because they're right. When you have this flipper on there, you're really pushed up against. Let me show you. I'm accentuating this, but I'm pushing, right? And look at the indent in my finger from the flipper, right? So I kind of get why you want that flipper delete. Now, that was me pushing on it, right? So under normal circumstances, if I'm holding it like this, it's barely hitting there. But under normal circumstances, it still leaves a little red mark. So it's not by any means like something that's like, I would never get this knife for that. But because this is definitely one of those forever knives, this is a knife that I'm going to consider trying to change up just a little bit. But I love it. And actually, they talk about how the external stops are difficult to use on some of them, and they were super hard to use when I first got this. But once you learn how to do it, and then it kind of starts breaking in at the same time, holy smokes, is this thing fun. You don't need those flippers anymore. You just got to learn it. And the way you press is you're pressing kind of underneath and up instead of out. I can never open it like that. I have to open it like that. Same thing with the thumb. I got to press underneath and up in order to get it to work. But it doesn't bother me. You just get used to it. And actually, that motion is just kind of like me moving my finger out. It's not even really flicking it. So that's really cool. So onto this. I'm going to give my Wii Malice my number one slot. Why do I give my Wii Malice my number one slot? Well, first and foremost, this thing is amazing in hand. If you guys like similar knives that you've seen me like on the channel, if you guys like the fat feeling in your hand and the contoured scales and just a beefy knife, but nothing that's going to be like a huge dominator for your pocket. I mean, this is large in your pocket, don't get me wrong, but that's where the Malice kind of fits in that role. You got the choke up position from Ferrum Forge, typical. You got this fuller that has this really cool cutout. I mean, everything about this knife is cool. The tolerances are super tight. The action, super good. And it's just something I really enjoy carrying. This is a joy. I truly, this is just fun to carry. So, I've already kind of chipped the tip. Let's see here. Right there. And I abused this thing. The reason that actually fairly large chip happened. Trying to get you guys a comparison to show you how freaking large that chip actually is. It's much bigger. Here, maybe it looks better than that. So yeah, it's not a bad chip, but it's a fairly large, in my opinion. So I was using this out. I was like building a chicken coop. You know, I got a ferret cage outside. I was building that, and I didn't have my saw with me, so I just start cutting this really thin wood, you know. And I'm like, this is stupid. I got like 5 minutes in, and I should have just went to a saw. But so I'm cutting, and like at one point in time, I'm like, you know what? I need to break through some of this. I'll just break it off, and then I'll shave it flat, right? So my dumbass goes, I take this guy, just like this, and I freaking stab it into the wood where I was cutting. I broke it off in there. I mean, I've abused this guy. And some people might be like, oh my God, you know, you abuse that. But I'm not going to keep a knife forever that I'm just going to be scared to use. So this is one of those that I literally abused. Now, if I were to stab this through something, honestly, I'm not confident stabbing my hinderer skinny, even though, let's check out the tips. Even though the tip is much fatter on the hinderer, there's something about the build on the Malice that I actually set my hinderer down and reached for my Malice. And that mentality isn't from the mindset of, oh, it's a hinderer, I can't do that. A, it's a sheep's foot, so I'm not going to stab a sheep's foot as much as I would the spear point or the drop point. But B, it's just this thing feels more tank. The Malice feels like I am a tank, do with me what you will. So that's kind of where that falls. So anyways, guys, this is kind of a quick update. At the end of this video, I will take a picture of what my Forever Knife box looks like. And it's got some knives that aren't Forever Knives in there right now, but that's just because I just made the box and I was trying to fill it up. But once I get to a certain point where I get everything out that's not a Forever Knife, the only things that will touch this box are Forever Knives, and I'm making a mental note that you cannot put something in here unless it's a Forever Knife. And so once you've earned your spot in the box, you have earned your spot in the box. So Jake, you can make fun of me for trading knives, but I do have knives that I don't trade. These are babies. This guy is not going anywhere, my PM2 Ultra. The only thing that'll make that thing, the PM2, go is I might try to get a different blade steel for it. I might try to swap out the blade steel to see if I can manage that in the future. And then last but not least, my Riot Epoch. My Riot Epoch, in my opinion, kind of compares with the Malice. It feels like a monster. Like, it just feels like a badass tank, even though it doesn't look like it. So, yeah. That's my collection, my top knives, and I'm not trading. My name is Tyler. This has been Everyday EDC. Sorry for being a little bit more quiet, but just a little bit of knife entertainment. I'm going to try to get this out on Saturday so you guys can have some weekend fun with this. You know, just throw it on in the background or whatever. You guys stay sharp, stay safe. Have a great freaking day, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hey guys, listed as my Patreon, my Instagram, and a special shout out to all the Patrons: John, Sammy, Eggs and Ham, Jason M, Dogtooth, Kaiba, Mickey, Wolf, and Captain Steve. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking